All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another magnificent Darren Tuesday. Hope you're all doing good out there in the big interwebs. You're joining us here with hopefully Lady Snow will be joining us soon, but with some published authors and a legal lizard here to discuss the entirety of all that is culture and relevant to literacy. Because as you all know, we're the final voices of such things. But how you doing today, Black Knight? You kind of got a little bit of a buzz going on there, but how
Uh,
you doing?
yeah, that's yeah, should be gone soon. Well, I'm okay. Been doing some extra writing today, plus a lot of chores, and made some bread. Um, the usual stuff, and I also wrote half a chapter. Of course, I did not forget this time, at least, to write the Terran Tuesdays Tanka poem, which you can read on my Substack. And yeah, otherwise, I was just doing stuff at home.
Yeah, the lounging and editing day Tuesdays, correct?
Yep.
Absolutely excellent, as one must always have in their arsenal of practices when going down the long journey of literacy. But Lady Snow,
Hi.
we have a fan in the chat here. Lady Snow, I just had to tell you how much I like your third book and what a
Aw,
brave girl Rose is.
thank you, Gran. I love you, Gran. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, I was not prepared for the lizard face. I was not prepared at all.
You have been lizard.
It's
Lizard.
Lizard Day. Yeah,
Yeah.
might be a lizard month. Who knows?
Oh my gosh, this is very, very exciting. Yeah, Gran. I know that Rose is brave. I'm not sure she's brave enough to face down the lizard man. Do it, make a roar.
Lizard in a suit. Rawr.
That was
Rawr,
good.
rawr, 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 rawr.
What type of this what type of lizard is this?
I
Snow?
believe
You know?
it's a skink. A skink.
A skink. Really?
It's not a gecko? No.
Top
No.
of your head, I could tell you if you were a skink or not, because skinks have little stripes. They're very stripy.
Oh,
You
don't be
Kind
racist.
of like a gecko, but it's really hard to tell. Most lizards kind of look the same from the front, and then it's their frills and ruffs and little stripies and things or spikies that make them all different. So, yeah, you look kind of like you might be a gecko, a gecko or a skink. It is true, but you are not probably an enol or a chameleon. I don't think so.
Desert lizard for sure.
Desert, yeah, very deserty, very nice.
Absolutely. Now, how have you been, Snow? What's new in the Snowverse?
Okay, so that I haven't even seen. I have not yet been to. I scooted right into the Discord, grabbed the links. I don't even know what we're talking about today. But okay, so last week, as some of you know because you read my thing. I've kind of been recovering because I wrote a novel last week. I wrote a novel in just about 7 days. I did have 2 days that I looked at it and put an idea out there. I didn't really outline or anything like that. And then I had a bunch of family crises and stuff. So within a 7 day period, 7 days of writing, I wrote a 50,000 word novel and got it turned in for a submission and didn't have any beta readers or anything because I was doing it so fast. That's why I missed last week. I was right in the middle of that. The deadline was coming up. It was that night and I was tearing through. And I was like 25,000 words away from the deadline. And so I was like, holy cow, how do I do this? And I prayed to sweet baby Jesus. I wasn't even planning on entering this. This was the art prize. I didn't have any plans for that because I'm very dedicated to the Watcher of the Damned universe. And actually, I got an idea, and it was after Charlie Kirk's assassination. An idea came to me for a story in the Watcher of the Damned universe. And because the Watcher of the Damned does have some political implications, as Gran probably has seen, it's a political allegory to a certain extent. And so I was like, holy cow, this idea is really great, but there's only like a week left, and I didn't really think anything about it. And then I was like, I have to do this story. I have to do it. And I couldn't say no to baby Jesus because, like when God tells you to do something, you got to go do it, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to try, but I don't have any guarantees, okay? And then so I started writing and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And I ended up putting that on my Substack. So Black Knight, you write like beautiful things and you're very consistent. And I am not. I'm like one of those people that if I show up for the dance, I'm like, yeah, I did a thing. And then I run away again. And so I actually got the novel done. I was so excited. I don't know if it's any good or not. We are going to publish it. I did have my daughter is my beta reader, and my son is one of my other ones. And so
no. Don't call them beta readers. Call them Sigma readers.
Alpha. Yeah, you're right. They're Sigmas. Well, my daughter totally Sigma that thing because but I got it turned in before I did any of the readings. So I was going blind literally on it. I did not know whether it was any good or not. I didn't have a time to do my own read through.
Yeah.
I mean, got
that
part done. I did do some writing on my Substack, and I wrote about that actually because just the stream of consciousness writing that I ended up doing to try to finish it because I didn't have the outline on it. And then and did do 3,000 words on Hellbelly Highway since that's the next book in the series, and got that done just in the last couple of 3 days. I've had about 3,000 to 4,000 words on that, and I'm rounding the corner on that one because I finished doing what's called a transitional scene. And at Black Knight, you do a lot of these. James, you're not as much into transitional scenes because your stories are kind of they're little microcosms. But when you're doing a long story, like especially like Black Knight does, where you have all these books that are involved, there's a lot of threads, and he has a lot of factions too. So I have approximately 5 major factions in this one book, and I have to tie them all together. And I'm coming to the end of this second series, and I'm like, I've got to tie everything together, Game of Thrones style. So I had I finally got through with what I call my transitional scene, which is it's like what I call the merry-go-round. And the merry-go-round is you go from character to character where one of them calls another one on the phone or sends a message, and you go from each character to another character as they're talking to each other or connecting with each other. And then you roll back into your last frame for the main ending for your book. So that way you can sort of recap everything. And I did this at the end of Lone Star Libre, and it actually worked out really well. So I'm like, you know what, we're going to do that again. But it took me about 3 days of just sitting and staring at a page to figure out what was going to happen. It was tense. It was so tense because I'm like, what if this doesn't work? And what if I just screw everything up and everybody's like, I don't know what's happening. And I don't want to do that. So pray for me while I try to wrap up my series because I got to get that done before the end of October. I've got to finish this book and finish this series before the end of October.
Yeah, that's intense going through an entire 50K word
it was
freaking novel in 7 days, you said?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
The idea came to me on September the 28th, and then I sat on it for 2 days. Well, I thought, I don't know if I can get it done in time, and so that was my fault. But
when are you going to hear back from them?
I do not know. It's the art prize. It was submitted. It did get turned in. It is in for the prize. It's a $10,000 prize with they're a small publisher, and they had a very specific theme. It was for America 2076. And I actually know the timeline for Watcher of the Damned. I know the secret date of when the happening actually happens. And so this actually fits in with the timeline for the story and another storyline series. So I was like, boom, I can slip that in and I'll actually finish doing my world building and everything else. And so it actually fit in really pretty well. So I was excited, but it's in for the prize. And there's going to be an announcement then on which one they choose. And honestly, I'm just thrilled to death I got it done. And yes, we will probably we're going to publish the story definitely. If they don't want the story, if it doesn't fit their need, then we will publish it as an independent.
Yeah, it's not going to be a loss. Like you're not just going to shelve it.
No.
Yeah, exactly. That's
because
nice.
Actually fixed, and one of the things that was really exciting about this experience for me as a writer, because I haven't ever done this before. When I went through it, and it literally, I ended up with it sort of coming all together in my head. I suddenly realized how it solved a major plot point in the last book of the last series. And I was like, holy cow, this is the piece I've been looking for. There is a character that it did not have a name. I knew what its origin was. And this becomes the origin for that particular character that will become one of the main villain. It is the main villain in the series. Actually, it's just been faceless and nameless to this point. And I was like, wow, that actually fits in. And so I was very excited about that because it all fits, it all works together. So it's actually becomes a prequel for the series itself with different characters and a different storyline, but it's still part of the story.
Oh, all right, gotcha. Yeah, you guys work with a lot. Black Knight, how do you deal with transitionary scenes?
Oh, well, I have um, I had huge issues with transitioners. I had to ask like a number of other writers for help back in the day until I like failed a lot of them, and now I have a bunch of notes for scenes like that, and because I've tried so many and I kept failing and failing and failing and failing, and out of all of these, I have, I think, about like 90 maybe, or 80, 87 was it, and I've used like a third of them. So when I need one, I just go to that folder and I screen through these notes and I pick one. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Is that part of your process? Like, you got a lot of pre-planning like that?
Yeah, because I keep like my brain is already damaged. Like yeah, sometimes I have issues with my memory, and that's one of the reasons that I since I already did a whole bunch of work back in the day, I'm using it because I already did it myself. So why not use it?
Ah, very smart. You were gonna say something, Snow?
I would have never guessed that you had any issue with your memory. But here's the thing, paper and a pencil is just your memory in words. You're literally writing it down. And anybody I've always struggled with memory because my brain is 10 million different places. And I have a hard time with keeping track of like you'll hear me like do this on here where I'll start talking about one thing and I end up in another place. I've been that way all my life. So I've told them, I said, when they come to you from the nursing home and they go, I'm sorry, but your mother is losing her mind, you tell them mom has always been this way. There wasn't a day that I wasn't. So it's like, it's okay. So I have a hard time with memory, and I've learned how to use paper and pencil for everything, or for notes on my phone, anything. There's always a list. There's always something because I have to have that. So I wouldn't ever guess you had any problem with stuff like that back then.
Yeah, it's when you hopefully one day when you read my 6th book of the Star Shatter series, I'm not sure I mentioned it earlier, but I had like issue then, and I began a few of the chapters like for a few months. I would start a chapter every day. I will start the same chapter, and I've forgotten that I've written most of it the previous day, and I would start it all over again. It wasn't nice.
And that can be tough. I've actually done that. If I'm writing and I'm really in the zone, I will repeat sometimes a phrase. Usually it's just down from the one I wrote. It'll be like two chapters down or 2 paragraphs down, and suddenly I'll repeat the scene, but maybe word it a little differently. And I was like, wait a minute, I've already read that part. Now I have to go back and I have to pick one that I'm going to use,
With that, I want to go ahead and introduce our surprise guest, Maji Chan.
Hello. Yeah, surprise to me too.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to be here today. Hi, sweet potato. How are you doing?
It's been a while. How are you?
I'm still alive. Now you've talked to me on the phone. Don't act like you don't know me. Girl.
I know. But it's been a while since we've actually physically talked. Text doesn't really count.
That's true. We're texting back and forth. Yeah, Maji's my friend and I love her. So I get to talk to her like in the real life and like on my phone and stuff, and on my text, because I text better
How
than I.
dare you?
And then Black Knight's like,
Huh?
"Weird." I was like, fine, okay, yeah, she's my friend. I love her.
Well, in Black Knight's defense, I kind of don't really go on Discord very often anymore.
Yeah,
Snow has my actual physical number.
we have it for whatever reason. I don't know how we ended up there, but yeah, I have her physical number, so she knows me. So it's like I'll get a text, I'll be, and I still call her Maji. So it's like it's funny. You're gonna be Maji to me forever.
Yeah, I figured today we have an open discussion topic. Saw you in the chat. You're a frequent guest. I thought I'd throw you the link. Join the
Yep. And
join the craziness.
I haven't heard your voice like for months.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, I kind of stepped back a little. Just trying to take care of some things in the real world and get the book wrapped up.
By golly.
Yeah.
And how's the book coming
About
along
that.
now? Where are you at on that?
So it's almost completely done. Technically, it would be completely done, except for I'm trying to make a minor change. I'm a little stuck right now trying to make the minor change. But now is the fun part of trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to pay for the ISPNs. But
Yeah.
we're there.
Nice. Yeah, go into that. Talk about like the process there and all those little hidden fees an author may not see coming.
Oh, Black Knight, you ought to know about all this.
Yeah. You could go the full indie road and just rely on Amazon or one of the other sites and start with the electronic, like the digital book versions. But you could buy the codes, yeah, I can't, like my brain doesn't work.
You're good. The ISPN.
Yes.
I think it's called something different in your language.
Yeah, it's you could buy them and then start selling the books from your site, like if you have one. I mean the digital ones. You'll still have to find like someone to print the paperbacks, which is like a huge hassle. And most indies, they don't have the resources and the money to do that. Back in the day when I was still like stupidly naive and I assumed that I could publish my work here in my country, and I went through like a bunch of trad pubs. Most of them just outright kicked me out because of things that I didn't have in my book. Others said, well, okay, we don't care what you're publishing. We don't give a damn. Give us money. Give us money and we'll print it. How much? Like a crap ton of money. And I'm like, oh, I don't have the money. And they said, okay, well, you can sod off, like go away. So yeah, in the current state as it is, things could be. You could say that for a tiny indie author, if you are willing to use Amazon, let's say, or one of the other publishers out there, it's fairly easy, even without buying the codes.
Yeah.
It's fairly easy. The problem is that a lot of people right now assume that with all of the so-called AI slop, and the actual human slop of that is passing for indie books out there, they will not be noticed. That's a mistake. Especially now, it's much easier for a brand new indie to be noticed, because it's if your work is even like passably good, you will be noticed immediately.
Because there's just that much bad in the market.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
that's
It's like
problem.
swarming with slop.
Yeah.
Swarm.
Yeah, and
So,
this but the thing
And
about go ahead.
I've seen like even stuff which was heavily astroturfed by some certain people. Even with the astroturfing and with the paid reviews, and because it's like Amazon, and they have that. Uh, and even with that, people are like, wait a minute, and you're not looking for the mass audiences. You're looking for your own niche audience, and this is the harsh reality of things for us indies, so that you're not going to be unless you have something which is like appealing to like the crowds. You're not going to have mass appeal. You don't even like, it's nearly impossible to go for that. The best option is to know your niche audience and write for your niche audience, and you will guaranteed you will have an audience. You're not just you're not going to be the next Tolkien. You're not going to be the next Martin. You're not going to be the next Stephen King or the J.K. Rowling. But it's not going to happen unless the mainstream, the trad pop, completely falls, which is in the works. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. It's happening. It's in the process of happening. So
interesting.
Something
Go
to
ahead.
mention. ISBNs. With the ISBNs, you can either purchase your own, or you can get them off Amazon. Doing it off Amazon, you can immediately. That's how a lot of these AI ones that they're putting out, they just roll right over and do it. However, then you are limited to Amazon, and you cannot sell it off site. You cannot sell it on your own website or something like that. In order to have a book that you can transfer over and have, say later, let's say that Amazon doesn't want to let you publish anymore, which is a big possibility with mine, because mine has very controversial subjects that are very in some ways considered to be pro-life, for instance, that could get me shut down on Amazon. So instead, I went and I purchased my own ISBNs, and went and got them in blocks of 10. I had to save money to do it, but it was worth it, because now I'm able to open up my own shop on a website, and if something happened and Amazon weren't wanting to allow me to use their site, or they just dropped me, and that's happened to a couple of authors lately. I think Blake Carpenter got dropped at some point for some reason, and then he was at. So you want to be able to say, okay, if I want to sell this, I can sell it without Amazon. I can sell whatever I want. If you don't have those ISBNs from the book people, I forgot what for the ISBN people, then you're going to have a hard time, because the one that you purchase from Amazon actually allows you only to sell it on Amazon. So make sure that the ones that are not just for Amazon. And in fact, other people that you've been working with, I think Daniel P. Riley and some others, will tell you about that part where you need to sort of look around and see which one you need.
And in the case of Amazon, if you buy the Amazon one, not only is it the distribution rights, but they can turn around and use some of your ideas to borrow it for one of their shows and don't have to pay you.
Dude, for really?
No,
God,
no, that's not true. They can't do that unless you die. If you die and you have no heirs, no one to leave all of your stuff to, then they can. But if you have if your work like goes to your children or your husband, your wife, your brother, sister, etc., like no, they could try to pull something, but it's not going to be easy. Even with the what was the name of that shit show? What was the name of that crap that
Rings of Power.
Yeah. So even with that, they had because they've acquired publishing rights for Lord of the Rings. They had to fight in the court, and were only allowed to buy like a small part of the of this. I think it was like a small bit of text from the Silmarillion, upon which they based the entire
appendices.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, appendices. Yeah. So no, they can't just take your stuff.
It's
This
something-
is
Go ahead. I don't know.
not
Have
true.
you actually copyrighted your stuff? Because I went ahead and did it, and yes, it costs money. In fact, I've got the first full series copyrighted. I actually that means that you're copywriting the titles, everything. And a lot of people feel like, well, if you publish, it's copyrighted. Well, there are things you can prove that you had it first, for instance, because it's obviously in your name, but it's not necessarily copyrighted. If you're really concerned about those things, copyright your books, because they cannot just steal them from you. In this case, what's the Claude, the one that's anthropomorphic or whatever? What was the
Claude AI?
Yes, where they remember.
Anthropic.
Yes, the Anthropic. They actually, and I talked to you all about this, where they actually took Texas and Watcher the Dam and trained Claude off of it, and along with several other authors. It's actually been basically stolen because they didn't pay anything for it, and it was they were taking books that they actually had not paid for and run AI and training off of them. That's why I tell people I'm not giving up my M-dashes. They trained their AI off of me. I'm going to continue to write just like I did. And so finding out that was done, it turns out that because I was copyrighted, I now have a stake in the class action lawsuits, and it's probably worth like $7.50 or something like that.
Okay.
But still, because I copyrighted, that was covered. Had I not copyrighted, it would have been under a different aegis. So it's really important, if you have a book out there and you love it, and it starts to get a little pull on it, you can go, wait a minute, this is a good book. I need to do that. It's really important that you copyright your work. And I love people sharing my book. I'll be honest, I've had people, I'm sort of a different kind of person. Somebody that shares it because they love it, that's like, holy cow, this is a great book. I've never tried to pirate anything. I'm going to say that up front. But when I see that somebody loves a book enough that they're like, I just want to get our hands on it, I'm like, dude, I will give you a free copy. just let me give you something, because I want to share. That's it. It's not the same thing as having a company, a company that, by the way, actually makes their living sometimes by suing other people for copyright infringement. This is in the case of Meta and YouTube, and shutting people down. And then they go and they use it in a corporation that could very easily have bought the book, instead decides to steal it. That's a totally different situation. So when you copyright, you are protecting your book from some, Joe Schmo that writes down something, but you are protecting it from other people claiming that work in their name. And that's what's going to be super important for everyone, is that you go ahead and get your work done, that you get your own ISBNs, and that you get your copyrights in. So that way you can protect that work, because otherwise all it takes is one person going in and going, okay, I'm going to feed it through that AI, and I'm going to go ahead and change the couple of things. And then it's your work. It's your words, literally. It's just a name changed or one concept redone. With copyright and with that ISBN, you have the ability to go out there and say, this is my work. This is mine alone. It doesn't belong to Amazon. It doesn't belong to anyone else. And you're stealing my idea and claiming it as your own. And that may get to be a bigger and bigger deal as we see people using AI to literally pirate other people's works and then rework it in their own name.
Yeah, that's not to last long.
Yeah, it's in a Wild West sort of state right now that that these lawsuits and all these things are happening. We're gonna see what comes from all of this, but there is just a lot going against anybody who wants to produce just say like a simple book these days, and even before AI, it seems that there were some sharks out there.
Oh yeah.
There were sharks
Well, the
that.
fact that
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Haji, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying the fact that you can only buy the ISPN from one company in the U.S. kind of says that alone.
Yes. Yeah, it does. And I think they're working through the federal government somehow. It goes to the Copyright Office or something. Somebody ought to know something about that. Go find out real quick, y'all. But yes, that back in the days, we've heard horror stories about people turning in their, and we talked about this before on the show. In fact, people turning in their submitting their agents. People that said, "Oh, well, we don't really want that. You know, it's a great story, but not our type." And then they would literally pass that idea with that manuscript to another author and have them write it up, or they would write it themselves. And it's probably one of the biggest things that, and I know that not all agents are like that. I have a dear family friend that's right now that she's very excited. She's agented, and she has somebody that's very, very more ethical, which is good.
But so you got to be careful who you let read your works.
Well, and that's another reason why when I was doing this, I was very careful about submitting, because it's a book that's related to my own series, and a lot of times one of the reasons I won't submit Watch for the Damned is because I don't want to reveal the ending until the ending. I'm not going to reveal the ending until I write it. And so I didn't want to do that. I don't want that out there. I don't want the reason for everything happening to be out there. It's going to be a secret to do it. But when you submit a story to a publisher, you are actually giving them the ending to your book. You're giving them the plot, the whole thing. And so with this one in particular, I knew I could do a one-off. I could have one, a single standalone novelette that would, be a to the series, and it wouldn't necessarily affect it downstream, except that it would be my idea. And of course, if it gets accepted, then it's going to open up a whole can of worms for me, because I've never even submitted in my life. But because this was done straight through, I was really concerned about it. It's one of the reasons I didn't do it first. But I saw a couple of things with ARC, and there have been we have several small presses out there that are working very hard to be the next step up, and they're trying to be ethical. Sursova is certainly one of them. Tuscany Bay, I believe, is another one. Wargate Books, and there's so many of them. At ARC Press, I saw a couple of posts that were made that indicated actual virtue. And I'm like, if I'm going to take a chance, there's this prize out here. I could certainly use the money right now, which would be great. But the fact that it fit in and everything, I was like, I needed to know this person was not just going to get up and walk away with my story. And they proved it. I actually saw some things on there that I said, wait a minute, these people actually have virtue, or willing to put it on the line, even if it's not necessarily considered to be a popular opinion. And they proved a couple of things. And I'm like, you know what, I'll take a chance on it. But it is very difficult to know what to do, because it is a lot of money to do any indie work. It always is. I won't say a lot of money. Let me put it differently. You can go out now and you can publish a book faster than you've ever published it in your life. And it's so much easier than it used to be. So Edgar Allan Poe would be just crying in his beer if he was here now. He'd be like, this is so wonderful. I can't handle it. Just push a button and away it goes. But you have to be able to trust the entities you're working with, and certainly trust is sort of on the short side with some things. So there's a middle ground where you have to go out and say, I'm going to invest my money in my story. I'm going to have this book that I've written, and I love watching you guys work on this, because I've watched, like James, I've been pretty much there ever since kind of around the time you started. I think a little bit right afterwards. You were already established as an author pretty much by the time I came out. Maji, watching you go through this process as a writer and giving birth to this book like a baby, literally, it's grown, and it's been this amazing process. And I was actually was that one of your first Sigmar readers?
Yeah, you were definitely you were one of the only ones that completed it. You, Black Knight, and Daniel were the only ones who completed the novel, the very first one.
Yeah, the very first draft, and I left you a bunch of useless stuff.
Oh no, it's not useless. What are you talking about? It's still on my desktop. Your edited comments, all of that. Literally, if I was to share my desktop right now, it is sitting on my desktop, like on my side screen, where I can pull it up and read the notes.
Well, see, and seeing that from your perspective, watching it grow from the very beginning, and knowing how hard it is to get to this point, it makes all the sense in the world to protect this thing you made.
Yeah.
Don't need to look at it as, oh, I've got to be the next J.K. Rowling in order for it to be a success. So many of the authors in literature started out small. We have so many authors that really didn't expand their work until sometimes decades after they were gone. And so we have books are eternal. Protecting that little book, making sure that it's where it needs to be, that it has the proper love that it needs to get in order for you to leave it in this world after you're gone is very important. And I think one of the things that Black Knight was talking about, the estates, making sure that you have somebody to inherit it. So it's not just out there that you're getting a physical copy of your book
Yeah.
and put your,
Because if you even if you protect it, if
Yeah.
you don't have anyone to inherit it, it's like the publisher which
Mhm.
You published it through, even if you had all the codes and everything, they'll just claim it.
that is so crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they could just do that like that. And see, and I've got
they can. It's like the land, like the land property.
Yeah.
In all states around the globe, if you kick the bucket, and you don't have any heirs, the state just grabs everything.
I never thought about that being about a book. Wow.
Yeah, it's the same.
I've got mine set up for and that's something I've got to talk to a lawyer about, how to set up a trust for it. So that way it's always its own sort of entity. And then and I don't know how that works. Probably at some point, because we need to like bring in a lawyer or something and let them talk to us or something. But because you've got a huge body of work, Black Knight, that's out there. How many books do you have now?
Over 12.
Yeah. And then we have this whole new movement with digital media. So when we're talking about James's setup, where his is literally, it's on his you've got it on Substack. That's your main one, isn't it, James?
Yeah, pretty much everything's published through Substack right now.
Okay, yeah, you don't have Roll Road and all that stuff. Well, a lot of us don't have Roll Road. We have other things. My son has got his on DeviantArt was his first big one. He actually did his stories on DeviantArt and would bring the artist in over there. And then he moved over to Discord. So he's got Discord and he has those two. He has a Substack, but he doesn't push it very much. And I'm like, dude, you need to get on Substack and X so you can push it. But those are digital properties. Well, how do you set up for that? You've got a story that he's got several thousand readers.
I mean, you do have to worry about the fine print of every website you choose to publish on. I remember over a decade ago when I used to just strictly publish like a lot of my graphic design stuff on like Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Way before I ever used to write. Facebook changed its terms to basically you post anything on there, it's theirs to use in marketing. So I just instantly stopped, and eventually, like sometime last year, that issue came up again, and there's just a hyper amount of creators out there that it became this big uproar. And to me, it was a shrug. All these creators saying, "Oh, all these mega corporations having access to my work." Like, you got to be careful where you put your stuff. You got to be careful where you hit publish, because that does give them particular rights. They are the publishers at that point.
Pretty much. And I wanted to mention something which will become important in the following years. I had a chat with a lawyer, an ex-colleague of mine. Is in international law, and he worked for some companies as an advisor, and he mentioned a bunch of stuff which we just minutes ago, you said that it's like, James, you said that it's like the AI thing is like the Wild West. Well, it's
Yeah.
not going to stay like that.
Oh yeah.
Because the big corporate entities and the government entities, they want to monopolize it, and they will. And he warned me, explicitly warned me, to be really careful what I'm using. If I'm using like imaging software, AI stuff, if I'm publishing books with covers that were made by AI imaging tools, is that the companies which made the tool, they might end up owning your part of your intellectual property just by virtue of using that tool. So
Yes.
he warned me about it. See, he said it like it's shifting right now. It's like it's not a concrete possibility, but they want, because they're greedy, all of these corporations and the states, they want to have a share, like to tax that. So if the companies are allowed to monetize your content just by virtue of you using it, and making stuff like, and publishing stuff by using their software, their so-called AI software to make stuff, it's quite possible. He mentioned that in a few years' time, I mean, the international law works really, really slow, but they are greedy. They want, it's like a cent here and a cent there. Like if you have like a few million cents, it adds up. So yeah, that's a possibility.
Well, and look at it as a honeypot. When you have anybody offering you a free thing, hey, you can use this free, don't worry about it, it's free. There will come a place where somebody will say, by the way, you're using our property. And it's one of the reasons that there's such a frou-frou about whether or not that they taking pirated books is and feeding it into your work. If I was a corporation and they'd taken my corporate let's say software and had stolen it, put it inside of another program, and then spread it out to 10 million users, I, as a corporation, could have come back and said, you gave those users my property. Now you need to pay me, or they need to pay me something. And they would go, oh, well, we're sorry. Hey, users, you're going to have to start sending $1 a month to Becky Snow Corporate, whatever. And that's what they would have done. Well, they're doing the same thing when they're saying, oh, you can use the AI, it's picture, just go ahead and do this. They're using all these little snippets and pieces of everything that's made, but they're claiming it as their own. They're claiming it as Grok AI, and I'm not saying Grok will do this, but they're claiming it as open source or open AI or Claude or whatever they want to call it. And now they may turn around at some point and go, well, you've made $1 million. You need to pay us because it was our image on your book. And that's exactly what Black Knight's saying. It becomes something where, well, I didn't know it was going to be that way. Well, we didn't know we were going to do it either. We didn't know, and now we're going to go ahead and charge you for it because the world has changed.
Yeah, remember that there was this group of actors. They made the show on YouTube, Critical Role, about the D&D show, and because they were selling merch to support the show. Wizards of the Coast, the ones who own D&D, they came, like, they changed the rules.
Yep.
Before that, you could make like mods D&D and use them for free, pretty much. And they changed it only because they became like super greedy, and their new stuff, like their new wheelchairs in the dungeon books did not work,
Mhm.
and nobody bought them, and they wanted to like steal pieces of other people's pies. So they wanted, like, they changed the rules and they made it so that Critical Role had to give them like royalties, like
Mhm.
let's say like back taxes. You have to pay this, and they I forgot what happened, but they lost that fight. They, even though they changed the rules, they tried to take money from other people. Like they lost everything.
Okay, and that's actually related to the open gaming license controversy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically is open source. The idea was when Wizard of the Coast took over with D&D from TSR, that they would go in and that they would say, all right, if you're making your own dungeons and everything else, you can do that. It's yours. It's what you're doing. You can make all these mods, and you can go ahead and play wherever you want. You can, take a photo of it. It's not, we're not going to claim that. We just want to say that if you buy these books, that you're buying it from us. So everybody was allowed to do this. Well, Wizard of the Coast came in and simply just rewrote the open gaming license, then saying, all right, well, we've decided instead that we own that property now. Retroactively owned it, no less. So even though they've changed their mind and, we back down, we're just so sorry, thank you so much, we won't do that again, they could do it at any time in the future. And so could any other corporation. If you, it's the same thing could happen with any other, if you're not doing things under the Fair Use Act, let's say you're not doing satire or whatever, if they say that you're even remotely tapping into an idea that was associated with a known property like BattleTech or Warhammer, whatever, they could come back and say, well, you're doing, you posted a picture of yourself doing this, you owe us money, because you are showing something that we had a hand in. It becomes this incredible corporate overreach. It's the same thing that happened with music, where now you can't play music at all.
Yeah, it's getting to a point where people are massively against it and annoyed with it, and the all of these like big greedy stupid corporations are now going on losing a lot of money because people back in the day, I'm speaking about the 90s, everyone who was poor and could not afford to buy music, etc., games and stuff, they were pirating it because they could not afford it. And I'm talking about much of the Eastern Europe, Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, and lots of Asia, which let's keep it real, in India, they are even poorer than us. So that was the only way you could even get a piece of media at a certain point. And people abandoned it because their standard of living improved. They began to make money, and they began to pay all of these corporations. They began to buy the originals, like the original music album, the original movie, the original game, etc., etc. And these all of these corporations, they became way too overconfident, and their greed like fattened, and they said like, oh no, now we want more, we want even more. So they increased, they raised the prices of everything gradually. They began to include bullshit stuff, like the stuff with the games, like the AAA games, quote unquote, which they actually, instead of selling the game as a whole, they chopped pieces of it and they sold them later as DLCs. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
they still do that.
Yeah, they still do that, but that's one of the reasons that they're dying. Like all of these companies are dying because piracy is back big time. no one is buying their games. Like a minuscule amount of people is buying their games. And if you look at the current state of the modern game industry, they're there. Like last year there was a meeting of the developers, and there was another meeting of the top executives and the investors were like screaming bloody murder. They was like, give us back our money, we lost millions.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions. And it all of this shit works until it doesn't, and it's in the phase of not working right now. It's the same with the movies, like the Hollywood and the music industry in the West, and even in the East. They're falling apart because they forgot that if they made their product nearly impossible to buy for the most people, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And that's why, coincidentally, us indies are rising because we are giving fun back to our niche audiences, which was the mainstream said, like, oh no, you're no longer a niche audience, like you're under the cap of, let's say, the new Star Trek or the new Star Wars or the new Warhammer, and you're ours now. We make movies and games and books for everyone, and you're everyone. But that specific niche audience, like, no, we're not everyone. We like this thing. Remember the meme about I made this thing, we like it, and then like the corpus intervene and they say, well, this thing is no longer your thing, it's our thing. And the audience is like, okay, we'll keep making the thing. And the corpus is like, oh well, we're making almost the same thing, but it's now for everyone. And the audience is like, but it's no longer the thing. Why did you change the thing? And they walk away.
Yeah. I think that as we move forward in our own work, as we start to realize we do not have to compare ourselves, we don't need to look to J.K. Rowling as our litmus for ourselves. And the reason why, J.K. Rowling wrote a story. It was picked up by a publisher. The publisher liked it. They put it out as the next big thing. And they hyped it, and it worked. And it was at a sweet spot, right time. It actually brought back reading for that group. That was in late 90s. And it brought back reading for an entire generation. And they were saying, they were already complaining about it. They found that sweet spot. But it was hyped by a very big machine that had a select audience. You now have a fragmented audience. Even when Big Pub puts something out now, it doesn't hit. What they look at for a big show doesn't hit everybody. You may have, how many of you actually know somebody who's watched Peacemaker or know somebody who's watched anything that's being hyped on X right now? It's there's, yeah,
what?
You might people. Maybe that's it. So the truth is, it's already a fragmented audience. Instead, we need to look at, yes, do we find our market? Do we find our audience from Maji, that fantasy world and the different characters and all the, I don't want to give a spoiler, but the fact that there's a place for that there's a cozy element here. There is a cozy element. And I think that cozy fantasy with a high adventure married to it really has its own niche. And you can corner that market. You're going to be doing just as well as you would be as if you went to a big publisher.
Yeah, I'll give you a link to one of my posts that it's like a super tiny post in the notes of Substack, where I basically I advertised a few of my books, and I only did that because a few of my new readers were like, hey, wait a minute, this is exactly the niche stuff that we were looking for, like at first one said it, then it was 2 more, then 5 more, 10 more, and I'm like, okay, I have to remind people. And I also noticed that they were changing the algorithm, so I managed to slide in between the layers. In a second, I've gotta find it because it's a bit down in the scroll, but it's nice. And I wrote a few like specific lines, or just like 2-3 sentences, short sentences. You don't need any more. And it's like a continuation of a previous post that I made the previous month.
Yeah.
Which was also somewhat similar a post, because they were changing rewriting the algorithm again. Let's see. Aji-chan, why are you not on Substack?
There was complications with my password, and it was just easier not to deal with it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about branching out to other platforms, but it always comes down to that, like the more access you give people, the more that they can take. These corps have like ways of taking from you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I found it. So yeah, you can. You will be able to see it in the private chat.
You should be able to present or preview if you want to hit that button that says present or preview down there.
No, I can't.
Hey, James,
No?
I sent you proof of my argument earlier. Black Knight's Notes is still on my desktop.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know. I was joking. That's do you remember what we talked about when I was reading that first draft? What I told you that
it was very messy.
yeah. Well, I personally I do not care how messy it is. I care about the core of everything, the core of the characters, the core of the story, the plot, everything, the world building, the pillars of the world building. That's what I care about. Like all of the typos. Oh no, the horror. Oh, grammatical errors. Oh my, the sky is falling. All of this is like this will be fixed later. But if you don't have, like, if the story does not have substance, soul, and muscle, imagination muscle, you can have it polished and become like super perfectly formatted, like use the most beautiful font ever, have an insane cover. It's still going to be just a polished turd with like sprinkles on top. And it's quite different. You have a diamond in your case, like a rough diamond, and you can polish it anytime you want, which you've been doing for the past how many, like a year and something.
This is almost 3.5 years working on this, start to finish.
Yeah. So yeah, look at that post. It's I'm joking, of course, that I'm sneaking around Substack's fiction hating algo, but I did. I managed to do it. I sold a bunch of books a month ago, and it's just probably thanks to all, it's like to the new readers and the people who are looking for indie stuff, and like the bulk of them, what they are telling me, because you guys know that I'm heavily into readers' feedback, and it's my drug. Like, readers' feedback is my drug. I'm always high on readers. I'm sniffing. Um,
What? That doesn't sound right.
I'm sniffing readers' feedback. It's like, I'm high on readers. I'm always high. Like the Terran Marines on from StarCraft, like on their Steam packs. Yeah. So what they're telling me is that people are actively looking for exclusively for indie stuff. Exclusively, they're not like, if they see something that looks too corpo like polished and promoted like suspiciously heavily suspiciously promoted, they avoid it like the plague. And it's not just one person that told me that.
Well, we are seeing a bigger interest in indies. Part of it is a backlash against corporations just pumping out possibly AI-driven work. I think a lot of people have been suspecting for a long time that a lot of the work that we see actually is primarily made by committee or by editors, and it's sort of just couched through a particular way. And I know there's some great.
Yeah.
There are great writers that are out there that are new, that have found a way to get it published. That's not going to say that they're not real, but because people are aware that they're aware of they're tired of the same stories they're seeing over and over again. And I say they, meaning primarily men. Men are looking for something different. Women have a feast more or less right now. In some ways, you say, okay, well, a lot of it's romantasy, or it might be, some people will call it smut, things like that. But they have the ability. Yeah, we see it was a big deal. Shoe on Head doing that about romantasy, and John said the same thing. That it can be considered it is niche, but women seem to consume it quite a bit. The same people that a generation ago read Harlequin romances now read romantasy or basically porn or erotica. And so you have that group having their own stuff. Well, the people that are looking for indies are men, and men actually are readers. They do sit down. They do want to read something. They want to hear something. They want to feel like they can immerse themselves in something for a little while. And so those are the readers that are looking for indies. And there's a ripe field for harvest in the indie world. Primarily, I don't advertise at all. I put like maybe one thing, like maybe once a day on my X feed. Hi, I've got a book, and then other times I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I've had wonderful readers like Gran come along, and she literally just showed up here, and she heard I had a book and she read it. I've had at least 4 other readers that are out there, and on X5 other readers that are reading right now that are just word of mouth. And to find them and to go, wait a minute, so something's really taking. It's about building your audience, like I said, finding the audience, building it. And that's really hard. That sounds like somebody giving you gobbledygook. It's literally talking about the things that interest you, the things that you love, finding other people that love the same things, and then going, hey, by the way, I've got a book I wrote. Would you want to read it? Do you, or just putting it out there. And when enough people hear you say that on any given day, if 100 people read something and they go, wow, I really like what he said or she said, they may also go, they got a book. I think I might be interested in this. And so there's a whole lot of things that have to go together. It's not just knowing I have a book. It's, do they like the cover? And if they like the cover, do they like the blurb on the back? And so after all those things line up, then there's a sale. Well, that's happened for me without any ads. The algorithm doesn't know I exist because I use the word, fight the revolution. that's literally a banned word in some countries. And so as a result, Amazon does not let it be seen in a very high level on I was shocked. I didn't realize that's what took place. So revolution is considered to be a bad word. And so they won't always show it in the algorithm, and the same thing on X. So the fact that we've got any sales at all actually is quite stunning. And now that I have to figure out what am I going to do once I get past that point where I actually have the series done, how am I going to advertise it? Because I don't even know where to start with that. But at least for right now, I have an audience, and I've been really blessed that it's been word of mouth, and that's the big key.
See, in my case, I'll be happy if I get 10 readers, period. That was never supposed to be that type of a book.
You'll get much more. You'll see.
So the fact that the advertising audience, that I haven't even started to think on that right now, is more just, okay, what do I have to do to get it done? What's the next step? ISPs or ISPNs and cover and just the little things. I'm not even thinking about like marketing or anything like that, because I honestly don't think so the highest because I have been putting some thought into my audience. It's actually one of the reasons why the book is on hold, because technically it's done. Daniel's pretty much done with doing his magic work, which if you guys ever need an editor, everyone here knows Daniel P. Riley. He's really freaking good at it.
I'm supposed to send him my name. You're on my list, Daniel.
Oh yeah, love Daniel. But I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I have no sex, I have no nudity, I have no language whatsoever. Well, there was a little bit of language, but it was easy to fix because it was only one character. And yeah, it's only one character, and if you know my characters, you know exactly who. But the problem was, so I'm like, because I didn't write it with an audience in mind. I wrote it, Snow can confirm this because she was in the chat when I decided to write this. But it was written as a joke. The whole story started out as a gag of a troll, just to have fun and try to bring some attention to a different channel that I wasn't even part of. It was just, we liked the guy, and Royce became a good friend, and we were trying to figure out a way to help him out. But so I was thinking, I'm like, what the hell's my audience? I have no audience. The story wasn't intended to be anything in particular outside of just a good fun laugh, which actually became quite serious. As Black Knight knows, there's a lot of battle and death in it. But
it became really, really serious.
It took on a life of its own. But so I decided, you know what, I'll just take out the bad language, and now I'm kind of on the fence on taking out some of the alcohol, because then if I did that, technically it could be an all ages novel.
Yeah.
Well, preteen or higher, because there is death and fighting, but I mean, it's a fantasy. What do you expect?
The other thing that you can do with if you want to have you give the illusion. So you call it a sarsaparilla. They used to do that in the old Western movies a lot. They would call it a sarsaparilla, or have a root beer, or give me a little bit of that brew over there, and they wouldn't even say exactly what it was. So the audience would infer that if it's anything that's being given in a tavern, you could say, give me some of that yum cider, and they would go, oh, it's an alcoholic drink. So you can actually do that. You don't have to say beer, you don't have to say wine. You can actually say the yum cider, or whatever words you want to use. And that usually can that's the way they used to do it back in the days. Actually, alcohol still sort of featured in a lot of kids' things, notably Dumbo. It's a Disney movie where the two birds get absolutely wasted and have a pink elephant attack. But so you can usually just change it by changing that to a more neutral statement. They're still going in there enjoying their little brew, but it's not making them overly drunk, and you can sort of get away with that without having to change the feel of it too much.
Well, see, that's what I did because there's a peace treaty Not actually, believe it or not, I wrote it way before the events of this week. Anyway, so there's a kind of like a peace alliance meeting where they're drinking wine, and the Minotaur leader's trying human wine for the first time. So I actually changed that to cider. Let people decide for themselves what type of cider it is.
To
But
decide.
no,
Yeah, I remember
but
that.
the problem I'm stuck on now is one of the characters is introduced through storytelling of a drinking contest, and I'm trying to figure out a way to replace it. But that's the only major change that would happen to the story. I just don't know how to replace it because it needs main character energy for being a side character, but at the same time, every other idea kind of breaks the one of the two characters involved's character.
What
If
about
that makes sense.
what about the part where they like have an eating contest or a snack?
I tried that. It
really?
it doesn't fit because I was doing a chubby bunny with the pickled eggs.
Get to Chubby Bunny with you're gonna die if you do Chubby Bunny with pickled egg. Well, I don't know. I have seen a lot of people have a bar contest. Actually, they're called bar bets, where they like chug a bottle of Tabasco sauce or something like that. So I don't know. I grew up in a different culture, I guess. Yeah, that's what I've seen before too. Is actually that's part of bar culture. Is there's a bet that goes down, and then you keep throwing down against each other until finally somebody wins. But men, would you like to tell us about this? Would you like to tell us what could possibly work? How do people challenge themselves, and it's not just slugging brews?
That would draw attention of the crowd.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
Probably if we take alcohol out of the way, it's like it's some test, maybe some test of skill, of strength, but mostly skill, and it's in many cases it's just test. It's not like a battle to the death. That's why we have things like arm wrestling and the good old fashioned arm wrestling. Also,
that one between a lame farmer and a blacksmith. We know who would win.
You don't know. Maybe the farmer is like, I don't know, but also what Snow mentioned about like the hot sauce. That's also a thing. Riding contests, shooting contests, like throwing down knives.
What are y'all
throwing axes? We like, especially in my youth, when I went to the army, it was like it was a test. We were throwing bayonets, and the fucking bayonet, like the whole idea is that it was unthrowable. It was literally unthrowable, absolutely impossible, because it was not balanced. It was designed to be just attached to the rifle, and that's it. It wasn't in any way balanced. But that's like the impossibility of it created a contest, and we just like threw it. Everyone had 3 tries, and whoever managed to like hit the tree with the tip of the bayonet, they won. So yeah, I hope I'm giving you some like some ideas. I don't know.
You're telling me that, okay, I'm just going to ask this because this is and I know this happens. This is why so y'all just basically, and I hear this where basically men just meet each other in a tavern. They go, hey, let's try to kill each other. Let's just drink impossible things and then try to like overpower each other.
Pretty much.
Really?
Pretty much.
Is this true, James?
I'm not too surprised.
What did you say? Say that is so cool.
I don't hang out at bars or anything, so unfortunately bar culture is not a thing for me. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
The bar culture I had was actually, it was back in the day, because my dad was working with the Forest Service, and the only place to go, I was out in a place called Locksaw Lodge in the Clearwater Forest in Idaho, 1971. And
You think me being from Idaho, I would know this stuff? No.
no, over in the Bitterroot Mountains. It's on it's over near Lolo Hot Springs, Montana side. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's over there, and so it's in the primitive area. And so that was the only place to go. So the kids would all sit around, and then the dudes would, like, go to the bar area. And so I would be sitting with my mom and dad over there, and then you would have to walk over and get it. And there was a bar and everything. And so I got to see things then. But so seeing it through the eyes of a child is a little different. But it is different. A bar is different when men are just with men, or it's just dudes mainly, as it is when there's families. I do know that, and that's something that probably, I don't think I've ever really been able to pass well enough to actually get into a bar to be able to look like a dude and get to see that. So yes, if you have tips or tricks for how to write a bar scene for dudes, then let me know. Everything I know for.
I wasn't that frequent a visitor to a few of the bars that most of my friends were like, they went there like every week, like twice or maybe sometimes 3 times a week. But I went plenty of times. I had like one massive drinking contest, and there was like 2, maybe 3 scuffles, like, which they weren't serious, just like scuffles. But mostly when you go there, it's either you're trying to throw sharp things at stuff and see who throws them better. You're trying to outdrink each other. You're trying to show, to see how good everyone is with their with their muscles, and how fast are their reflex. Oh, it was a thing with the cards, which someone would drop a card, and you have to be quick enough to snatch the card with 2 fingers.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that game before.
And there were other guys who had cars. They, of course, at a certain point, when enough beer was consumed, they would try and see who could actually open the door of their cars. And that was also a follow-up contest after the drinking contest.
Oh, fetch, encouraging drinking and driving. Yay!
Well,
No, not driving. No. I never said driving. just opening the door, unlocking the door. You know how fucking hard it is to actually get to the car and produce the key from your pocket and find finally put the key inside the keyhole. This is it's not easy when you're drunk.
drunk games.
It's not easy.
Well, anyways, we're getting close to the half-hour mark. Why don't we go ahead and wrap up, get some final thoughts on this crazy conversation of ours. We'll start off with R.H. Snow. Share any final thoughts if you got them, and where people can find you, and maybe what you're working on.
Well, that is just so awesome. First of all, I'm just so psyched to see Monty here. Hi, Monty, and to see Gran in the audience. Hi, Gran, I love you. Anybody else that's out there, because I can't see you right now because I don't have eyes for that. I love you too, and I love all people in the future. Of course, you can find me at watcherofthedamned.com, where I have my books. and also making some website changes. I'll be able to start selling at least the PDFs or the EPUBs on my website. So that way we can do that direct in case Amazon does ever decide to drop me. You can find me on Amazon, of course, under RH Snow or Watcher of the Damned. You can also find me at flow.page/RH Snow. That's flow.page/RH Snow, where you find all my socials and my Substack and my YouTube. And you will also be able to find my Amazon where we have all of our books, including Caballero Stabino, which is our 8th book in the Watcher of the Damned series. And I'm coming out with Hellbilly Highway. I hope to be finished by this end of this month, and it will be book number 9 in this last, the second series, Watcher of the Damned Wanderer. It's the Road series. We have 3 books in that one that take them from where they're coming from the end of the Revolution to a mysterious town. And I won't tell you what the name of the town is, but I believe you will love exploring it in the heart of the urban wastes. So join me on that journey at watcherthedamned.com, and I look forward to seeing you then.
Awesome. Sounds like quite an adventure. Black Knights, where can people find you? What are you working on? And any last thoughts?
I have been working lately on a few projects. One of them is the Province of Terran Street, like the third Vote Your Own Adventure novella, which I've been publishing every Friday, a chapter every Friday on my Substack, which is the blackknightsubstack.com. Also a few poems and haikus and tanka, which you can also find there. And of course, the 8th book in the Star Shatter series, which is about like nearing 70% completion. And you can find all of the published books of the Star Shatter series on Amazon, including the 2 short story collections, the Mandate of Sword and Railgun and the Blood of Tyrants, and of course the 2 Conan-esque books also set in the Star Shatter universe, about Velin the Ultorian, and my shadow fantasy book, Lord Bones. And that's that.
Super awesome. Maji Chan, any last thoughts or where people can find you? And of course, what you're working on.
Well, yeah, we talked a lot about what I was working on. Surprise! Sorry. I just hang out in people's discords, so if you know where to find Snow and James and Black Knight, you know where to find me. I don't really have a YouTube thing. I'm not really a YouTuber. I'm just a moral support cheerleader that somehow ends up on YouTube a lot, but that's beside the point.
Uh-huh.
But hopefully by the end of this year, I will have a book out. We'll see.
Yeah. When it's out, we'll look ahead and re-invite you onto the cast here.
Yes.
But
we have to do something. Yeah. Something
together. Cast magic. Party. But with that, thank you all for joining us for another magnificent Darren Tuesday. Join us next week at the exact same time. If you're part of the replay crew, give us a like. Go ahead, leave a comment down below. Share it with your friends. But with that, we are out of here. Bye-bye now. Have yourselves a good rest of your day.